To the Global Primatology Virtual Conference hosted by Central Washington University. My name is Courtney Garzone, and I will be moderating the session today. This session is with Kuenzang Dorji, he, him, and it will last until 9:30. Before we start, I wanted to let you all know that this session will be recorded. If you do not want to be recorded, then you can turn off your camera. Additionally, to make this a fun learning experience for everyone involved, I'm going to request that we all follow a couple of session rules. One mic, one voice, only one person will speak at a time. Respect all identities. This will include pronouns, nationalities, ethnic groups, etc. This is a safe space, so don't feel discouraged. We're all welcome to engage and ask questions. One question only out of respect for others and our speaker's time. Please stick to just asking one question. Only speak for yourself and no one else. No name calling or derogatory comments or questions of any kind. Failure to comply will result in your termination from the session. And keep the chat clear of traffic. Please only use it to propose questions. Now that we're all on the same page, it is time to introduce Kuenzang. He is looking forward to answering questions about anything, working in Bhutan, fieldwork during a global pandemic, balancing family and office work, and being a distance student. So I'm really excited to introduce him. Kuenzang, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Warm greeting from Bhutan. Thank you, Central Washington University, for sponsoring this global primatology virtual conference and offering me a place to attend this important conference and share the status and experiences in primate conservation in Bhutan. So my talk will be more focused on golden langur, the Trachypithecus geei. Well, by the way, my name is Kuenzang Dorji, and I am the current head for Bhutan Nature Studies Center. And I'm also the founder of the Bhutan Primate Conservation Society, Bhutan GIS Society. And prior to joining this Nature Studies Center, I have served as a faculty member for Kuenzang Institute for Conservation and Environment. I'm more specialized on small mammals, rodents, bats, and then of late I took up in primate conservation. Are you hearing me? Primate species, and I started my career as park warden and head of species conservation monitoring section in one of the national park, that is Trachypithecus National Park. And I conducted the research on the key species of national park, more focused on tigers. I studied forestry science from College of Natural Resources, postgraduate diploma in wildlife management from Kasset University, Thailand. And I studied BAc sustainable development from College of Natural Resources. I studied postgraduate in geographic information system from Salzburg University, Austria, and recently I studied Master of Science in Primate Behavior and Ecology. Since I'm talking about Bhutan, so for the benefit of larger audience, may I put you at a glance about Bhutan? So Bhutan is located between two giant countries, that is India in south and China in the north. And then we have like around 0.08 million people living in our country. And we are the constitutional democratic monarchy. Well, any development countries in Bhutan is guided by the gross national happiness principle and values. So our fourth king stated that the gross national happiness is more important than GDP. And even our current king, the present king, also stated that GNH is simply, the development with the values. So this gross national happiness is supported by the 4 pillars. So environmental conservation is one of the main pillars. And then the conservation of environment is warranted by the Constitution of Kingdom of Bhutan, where we have the Article 5 that is on environment, which is stated that 60% of total geographical area of Bhutan should be under forest cover for all time to come. So because of the leadership of Our Majesty, the 4th and 5th King, so we have like 1% of total area under forest cover and 51.44% of land as a protected areas and biological corridors. So these pristine forests provides a pristine habitats or a paradise for 7 primate species of Bhutan. So namely Arunachal macaque, Assamese macaque, rhesus macaque, cap langur, golden langur, Nepal grey langur, and slow loris. However, primate species in Bhutan are exposed to 2 broad categories of threats, that is at habitat level and at the population level. So at habitat level, the habitat fragmentation and deforestation and destruction of habitats, and at the population level, the hybridization between the species are happening in Bhutan. Well, the way forward on primate conservation in Bhutan. So I personally launched the Bhutan Primate Conservation Society with the goal to conduct the primate research on primate biology, conservation, and management, particularly more focus on human-primate conflicts. This society functions as an umbrella organization under Nature Studies Center, and we look forward to conduct a long-term monitoring of primate species through citizen science. So we wanted to involve the local people, since local people power research on human-primate conflicts, to inculcate the concept of harmonious coexistence and species sharing with primate species. So as a part of our collaboration with Central Washington University, so this is the first batch of faculty-directed program that we have hosted in 2009, and then I guess few of the colleagues here must be attending the virtual conference and then hearing my, voice, and then I'm conveying my regards to them as well. Well, in continuation to the primate conservation in Bhutan, so this is more of like citizen-based, and then we try to involve like field rangers, literate farmers, school children, dropouts to take part in data collection of the primates, basically on their ecology. And then so far, like we have the citizens have contributed, and then they encounter mostly the Assamese macaque, meaning that these species are most common in Bhutan. And then like we are yet to encounter with the slow loris, and then the Munzala, that is Arunachal macaque. And then even as a part of primate ecology, so we were looking at the group structure, the number of individuals, how many males, how many females, and how many juveniles, and then where that the particular group has the abnormalities or not. And then the proximity from the farm, agriculture land, from the roads, and even the activity at the time of sighting, when they sight the primates. So where they're doing, or where they are feeding or sunbasking, and then if they're feeding, on what tea species they are feeding, and which parts of trees, like flowers, leaves. And then like this information will help us to really map out the primate and human hotspot, and then come up with the appropriate interventions. Since my talk is more focused on golden langur, so I will talk little bit about the langurs of Bhutan. So like we have 3 species of langur in Bhutan. That are grey langur, golden langur, and the cap langur. And then these if we look at the biogeography of langur species in Bhutan, so these 3 species of langur are uniquely distributed. The gray langur are distributed mostly in southern west of Bhutan, and the golden langur are distributed in south and the central part of Bhutan, and cap langur are distributed in the south and eastern part of the Bhutan. And then, like in the past, because of the major river system, the langurs are not able to come together, but with the recent developments, the construction of roads, construction of power lines, now that gave them access, and then they come together, and then some place. Sorry, anything?
I think you're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, yeah.
And somewhere in this place, so the hybridization of golden langur and cap langur are happening. Well, more on golden langurs. So as a part of my MSc thesis, so I studied extirpation risk of the endangered golden langur. That is in 2 land settings, inside and outside biological corridors, in one of the sub-district, that is Langtel, Tongsa, in Central District of Bhutan. Well, my research is intended to estimate the group size, the group structure and sex ratio, and then calculate the winter feeding range for golden langur groups, and then associated natural and anthropic risks, and even to document the characteristics of sleeping sites as well as sleeping trees, and then the risks, natural and anthropic risks that may influence the choice of the sleep sites. My study, assumed that the group size of golden langur will be bigger, feeding range will be larger, and groups more vulnerable to extirpation risks outside than inside the biological corridors. Well, some facts about golden langur. As we know that the golden langur is the world top 25 most endangered primate species that are only found in Bhutan and India. And golden langur is a leaf-eating golden orange colobine monkeys, which are sexually dimorphic, meaning that the males are larger than the females. And in Bhutan, so these shaded parts are the district, the golden langur distribution range, and then they were mostly found in warm broadleaf forest of Dagana, Sarpang, Tongsa, Sirang, Wangdi Phodang, and Shemgang district. Well, golden langur mostly live in uni-male, multi-female groups, and then they will have 3 to 9 individuals, and then sometimes like bi-male and multi-females of 8 to 15 individuals, and then we occasionally find them in multi-male and multi-female groups, and then like a male attain their maturity at the age of 5 to 7, and female attain the maturity at the age of 4 years. IUCN Redlist had categorized them as endangered, and then the CITES classified it as Appendix 1. And Forest Nature Conservation Act of Bhutan, 1995, warrants its protection as a Schedule 1 species. Well, we have conducted our studies in 2 distinct landscape that measures 338.83 square kilometer, and then that area is adjacent to 2,642 people. And inside that landscape, we have like 46 kilometers of roads, including both primary and secondary roads, 28 kilometers of power transmission line, and then 564.27 hectares of agricultural land. And then so this is the biological corridor where I have studied. So this biological corridor connects 3 important national parks. That is Phumshingla National Park, Jikmi-Singye National Park, Royal Manas National Park. And this area has some enforced protections like management regimes. During our study, we used some important equipments. These are spotting scope, binoculars to have a closer look over the golden langurs. We use global positioning units, GPS. Normally, we use a smartphone using apps like SW Maps, cameras and reconnaissance camera traps to document the predators, both natural and domestic. Samsung tablets, Sunto compass to measure the orientation, the direction, hypsometer to measure the height and the horizontal distance, clinometers to find out the slope percentage, and diameters to measure the girth of the trees. Well, when it comes to methodologies, scan sampling is the main methods that we have used, and then we scan for golden langurs along the roads, both primary and farm roads, and then we even consider the existing trails as a transit line. Once we have the GPS location, we used minimum convex polygon to calculate the feeding range of the particular golden langur groups, and we generated the heat maps using the GIS analysis tool. We used remote cameras, trap, and science survey to document the presence of both the natural and the domestic predators in the sleeping sites. We met with the key informants, the local people, to understand or to know their views or attitude, the perception towards the problematic golden langur groups. And based on the measurement skills and risk exposure pathway, we calculated the vulnerability risks for the particular golden langur groups. And this data collection was happened from November 2019 to April 2020. Well, we did some simple analysis. Mostly we calculated the proportion and the ratios, like sex ratio, and we performed the test to determine the differences on group mean size between the two land settings, that is outside and inside the biological corridors. We use qualitative risk analysis based on risk exposure pathways to calculate the risks for the golden langur groups. And even I tried Pearson correlation to test the relationship between the T DBH, the diameter, T height, and the langur group sizes. Well, when it comes to result, our study, we followed 24 langur groups, that is 9 inside the biological corridors, 15 inside outside the biological corridors, and in total we counted 297 individuals, and the encounter rate is high outside than the inside. Like outside we could count 10.33 times, and inside we could count 6.33. And the encounter rate is higher outside. That is purely due to the presence of more openings, because like outside the biological corridors, because of construction of roads, construction of transmission line, so the forests were cleared, and then we have like large openings, and the visibility is good, and then we can easily encounter the golden langurs group. And then like if you look at the group sizes and sex composition and sex ratio, we didn't find much differences in the adult male and adult female sex ratio and adult female to sub-adult sex ratio in both landscape type, but like we have counted more infant inside the biological corridors. These can be like outside the biological corridors. The groups are more, they are more devoted towards the survival, the protections, than the bringing up the young ones. even we recorded the location and the characteristic of sleeping sites, and then we found that golden langur sleeping on 76 trees of 28 species in 29 sleep sites, and then they prefer really a tall emergent that measures 19 meter and big trees of 53 centimeter girth. So they sleep at mid-level canopy and mostly on the trees, which has like spreading an open shape, so to accommodate all members in one tree. And then like we have even assessed the anthropic and environmental factors in sleep sites, and then we recorded a sign of grazing and 25 sleep sites, then slide due to recent road widening in 17 sleep sites, timber extraction in 11 sleep sites, and then our study found that 11 sleep sites are located along the periphery of agricultural lands. We even look at the gradients, the slope gradients, and the aspect of sleeping sites. And then, like we found that golden langur choose to sleep on the tree that has a strong inclination. I mean, the steep slope, a strong slope that measures from 31 to 50%. And then, like aspect mostly, the south-oriented. So, like they prefer a strong slope. This is mainly to avoid the predators, and then like they prefer the aspect of south orientation for better sun exposure, and then avoid the strong winds. The main part of my study is to assess the extirpation risk, and then like for this assessment, we have identified 6 threats that are electrocution, roadkill, retaliatory kill, and habitat disturbance, group structure, and predation. And then, like, if we compare outside and inside, almost all the groups that reside outside the biological corridors are vulnerable to any one of those extirpation risks. And then a few of the groups that reside inside are exposed to those extirpation risks. And then like overall, OBC 9 means the outside biological corridor 9, that is the number of, I mean the group number is the most vulnerable to extirpation risk group. And then like OBC 8 and OBC 10 is moderately vulnerable to extirpation, and OBC 7 is least vulnerable. And these are some of the heat map that we have generated based on the extirpation risks. And then like if we look at the colors, so red indicates the high risks, and then green indicates the low risks. And then like for example, if you look at electrocution, we can see like almost all the groups that are residing outside the biological corridors are exposed to electrocution. And then like if we look at the group that are inside, only one group are exposed to the, and then similarly, so the red indicates the high risks, and then the green indicates the low risks. So I have assessed for roadkill and retaliatory kill, then predation, human disturbance, and then group structures. Well, to conclude, so our study found that golden langur living outside the biological corridor has a variation in group size. So they have a big group size. We counted even 24 individuals in the groups, and then variation in social structure because they have like a large group size with multi-meal. Actually, the golden langur group social structure, the main the social structure are uni-male and multi-female, but like the golden langur groups that were living outside the biological corridor have more of multi-male and then multi-female group structures. Our study found that golden langurs sleeps on tall, large trees with spreading branches to accommodate all group members in one tree. And then this is very important that we need to protect or conserve that the large trees so that to conserve the golden langurs. In our study site, the golden langurs were threatened by presence of natural predators that are the leopards, pythons, and raptors. But we found that natural predation of golden langur appears to be a rare event. We have seen golden langur feeding on cultivated fruits and even the vegetables, accelerating the human-langur interaction. So this will lead to a human primates conflicts. And overall, golden langur were most vulnerable to mortality caused by electrocution, roadkill, and domestic dog kill. Well, we have, based on the conclusion, so our study wanted to make a few suggestions or the recommendation. Firstly, to install a speed limit signage and speed breakers to limit the speed so that the golden langur doesn't get hit by the vehicle. And next to the installation of insulated electric cables and then proper fencing of power transformer. And we wanted to suggest the local people to refrain their domestic dog to freely range in golden langur feeding areas. And then the most important thing is to initiate the committee-based awareness program to educate people on their conservation status, how rare they are, how endangered they are. Well, the way forward, since the primate conservation research in Bhutan is, it's picking up. So the way forward is that the important thing that we need to stress is on human primates conflict. That we wanted to, to map out the hotspot and then suggest the intervention to reduce the conflict. And then, particularly on the golden langur, we wanted to really understand the ecological and behavioral flexibility of golden langur, how they are trying to adjust, how they are trying to adapt with the disturbance or, with the environmental disasters. In previous study, so we have the conservation threats of golden langur were studied at the national level, but I feel that we need to really study at the local level and at the group, the group level. So the how that particular groups are vulnerable to the threats. And as I mentioned earlier, so we hybridization of golden langur and capped langurs are happening, and then it's very important for us to know, now what population of pure golden langur is present in Bhutan, and then what population of hybridized golden langurs is present, and in which locality, and the distribution of those the subspecies. And we have planned to conduct the distributional survey on the Munzala, that is Arunachal macaque. So that is more of new record in Bhutan. And we are also planning to conduct a preliminary survey on rare and elusive slow lories. So that survey will solely depend on the availability of funds. When we talk about primate conservation in Bhutan, so we do have bottlenecks. So first and foremost, bottlenecks is that not many people come forward to study primates. And then, as I mentioned in earlier slides, that the primates are lesser known species in Bhutan. And then people don't really take interest to study primates. Rather, people are after charismatic species like tiger, snow leopard, and elephant. So second bottleneck, the drawback is lack of research fund grants, because it's very difficult to mobilize the research grants. And then we lack a domestic capacity equipped with knowledge and skills to study primates. So like now I have to claim that I will be the first primatologist in Bhutan who studied the MSc in primate behavior and ecology. So I may be able to help on this and then like help, support, guide the younger generation to, encourage the younger generation to take interest to study primates. And we also lack domestic resources, particularly like co-funding, maybe like for if we are to apply for research grants and funding, so some requirements are that we need co-funding from national level. So this is some of the disadvantage for us to assess for the funds. Well, last but not the least, so I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone involved to make this research, to make this project a very successful one, and to make my study a very successful one. First and foremost thing, I would like to thank my committee members. So I term them as three jewels. The jewels, the triple gem, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So they are very helpful to me. I'm very thankful to Dr. Lori K. Shiren, Dr. Tim England, Dr. Kathleen Barlow, and Dr. Jennifer. So they were my godparents. So they helped me, they guided me, and then like they were the main character. They were the main wonderful people who helped me to walk me this far, and then because of their help, the primate conservation works are, were possible in Bhutan. Thank you so much. And then like we have like strong collaboration. We have like strong affection because like we had been working for so long. And secondly, I would like to thank the field research assistant Ratan Giri, Kado Rinchen, and Namgi Doji. So they also really work hard in the field in data collection and monitoring the Golden Langur groups. And then I'm very much thankful to Central Washington University for this golden opportunity to present the status and the experience in primate conservation in Bhutan and my thesis research. And I'm thankful to Central Washington University for providing me a research grant, the graduate research grant. And I will also not forget to thank the Rufat Foundation for providing me a major chunk of financial support, which made this research possible. And finally, my family members who really took a time to support me. So they sacrificed, and then they were for being a tolerant, and then because of their moral support, so I could complete my studies on time. I could complete my research on time. So thank you one and all who was involved to make my project and my study a successful one. And then thank you to both the host. Very sorry, I couldn't pronounce Aston, right? Aston and Aston, right? And then, so I'm sorry, I could not pronounce your name.
Is it Courtney?
Courtney, right? Courtney.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting this virtual conference. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for me to present and share my experiences. I deeply feel honored and very much thank you for this opportunity once again. And then with this, let me end my presentation with word Tashik Delek. Tashik Delek in Bhutan means thank you so much. And then like you are open for questions, clarification, doubt, and then like the question can be particular to the primates, or it can be the outside the technical aspect, maybe like about Bhutan, and then anything that you wanted to know about Bhutan or primates or anything. So I'm open for any sort of questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. It's really great to have you here today and kicking off the second day of our conference, no less. If you have questions as participants, you're more than welcome to post them in the chat and I can read them for you. If you would like to ask your own question, you're welcome to raise your hand and we can unmute your mic for one of the questions. Kuenzang, the first one we have is, how has COVID impacted the country and your research?
Thank you. Actually, I thought to mention that, well, it's quite challenging because my study is distance, the more of like virtual, so I could not come there and attend. So, I should say that Bhutan, it's not, the COVID has not hit as hard as like other countries. This is thanks to our, the visionary leadership of our His Majesty the King and our Prime Minister. So they were very protective, well planned, and then so this made the citizen of Bhutan very safe. But we had some of the cases in Bhutan, and then like we had to go few lockdowns, 2 times of lockdowns, and then like that challenge me to conduct my, especially the field research, because we are not allowed to travel from one, the inter-district to district. So since my field research in Central Bhutan, and I'm based in the Western Bhutan, so it's quite challenging. So, however, our first lockdown was not that strict, but I can still move out and then guide my field assistant. But I'm lucky that I have a very capable, competent, and then committed field assistant. So I have 3 of them, and then so once I made them familiar, so they helped me a lot. So this made very easy. And then like beside COVID, so it's very challenging for me because I'm a government employee, and then I head a nature study center, and then I have like the official responsibilities. And then beside that, I'm a married man, I have a family, and then it's very difficult to, balance. But somehow I could find a middle path. And then as I mentioned earlier, I have like wonderful people back at my, back of me, like my supervisor, Dr. Laurie, was very helpful, and then I have like Dr. Kathleen, Dr. Tim, and Dr. Jennifer. So they were ever ready to help me at any time, be it odd hour or so daytime. So because of their help, and then some the other people who were involved in my study and in my research. So because of their help, so my my study was very successful, and then I'm very much satisfied with my research project and the studies. Thank you.
It's great to have great support like that, so I'm very glad to hear it. Someone else posed, what is the anticipated home range of the slow loris in Bhutan?
Well, that's a very interesting question. And then like I should admit that slow loris is one of the least studied primate in Bhutan. And then like I should please accept my apology that so since it is least studied primate species, so I would not be able to exactly tell that the home range size of the slow loris. So like if you look at my way forward, so we are really anticipating to conduct in-depth studies on slow loris, starting from their distribution, and then maybe like slowly we will expand on their home range. If we look at the habitat, because like habitats are really intact, and then we have like good forest cover. So I should say that the habitat, the home range will be quite smaller when compared to the disturbed or the human-dominated landscapes.
Wonderful. As far as we know, it's too difficult to sex the langur like the ebony leaf langur, and especially when they're in the forest. How is it that you sex the golden langur to calculate their male to female ratio?
Well, I think this need the long attachment with the groups. So like we have to really follow them, for a longer period, and then. But in my study, like so I followed them along the roads and the openings. So this is very so like they are more exposed. They're not really inside the forest under the trees. So they are more exposed, and then they are normally found feeding on the top of the trees, and then almost all groups are seen, and then we can closely look at their the male and female organ, and then size of the langur. So that's the some of the key the identification keys that we use to sex between the male and females.
Another question we just got in is, do you offer opportunities to make a master's level study or research project in Bhutan for langur conservation?
Well, thank you. It's a very interesting question. And then so I should inform everyone here that we have my center, the Nature Studies Center, have a strong collaboration with Central Washington University, so that we have 5 years MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding. So that covers the exchange of students and then even the faculty, and then like the joint research in Bhutan. So maybe if anyone is interested to come to Bhutan and then conduct research on any primate species, so then we can facilitate that through Central Washington University. But I should inform that so anyone who wanted to come to Bhutan, you need a counterpart in Bhutan. So because no foreigner can alone come in Bhutan and then conduct research on their own, so independently. So we need a collaboration. But I should say that Central Washington University and then my center has a strong collaboration. And then coming to Bhutan and doing research, be it master's or PhD, is very much possible.
We were also asked, why do you think the group structure of the golden langur changes from unimale to multimale dependent on the location of their group?
Well, this is very interesting, and so we found that multi-male and multi-female group in human-dominated landscape, so where there are more disturbance, the groups that are living near to human settlements, near the periphery of the agricultural lands. So we found that more males and multi-females there. So this is totally for the protection purpose, because for the protection purpose and for survival purpose, so they come together. And then form a bigger group. So with a male, so that they become more aggressive, and then they can easily encroach or the agricultural land and then raid crops or fruits.
Do you expect other primate species to be equally impacted outside versus inside biological corridors, or are langurs disproportionately affected by this?
Well, I think it should imply for all primate species, because they are leaf-eating the species, and then so the impact may imply to all primate species. Since I studied only golden langur, so right now I can explain only about the golden langur. But if we look at the landscape, the disturbance that's happening even in the area where other primate species is present, so I could say that this will imply to all primate species, not only golden langur species.
And it seems like the government is pretty heavily invested in supporting primate research in the environment, but there still are not a lot of grants available for funding. Does the government support that you see provided by the Kings help with this grant raising, or is that not coming from the government structures?
Well, we have the strong policies. Like I mentioned in some of the slides that so we have the environmental conservation in one of as a main pillar of our GNH, the gross national happiness. And we have even in our constitution of Kingdom of Bhutan that the environment has given a priority that 60% of forest should be, the total land cover should be always under the forest cover. But when it comes to the species level, so the primate species level, and I should say that the government has a more priority than this, the species and the conservation. So since we are the developing countries, so I think I personally feel that our priority should be, the development of livelihood of the people. So not more on the species, but in general. So as such, our government we don't have the funding or grants to conduct species research on particular species. But we do have some NGOs so who mobilize more of research grants and then provide a support. But these NGOs are more inclined towards the charismatic species like tigers, the flagship, and the indicator species. And then these primate species or the small mammals are lesser known, and then so these are the least supported species in Bhutan.
I think that happens a lot in primatology. As you mentioned, the slow loris is also under-researched. Those are all the questions that I've had posed. If anyone else wants to get their last minute questions in, feel free, but I really appreciate your conversation today, Kuenzang.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much this opportunity, and then I think I feel that I did a justice to everyone, and then I must have responded, or you're satisfied with my response. If you have anything beside, or if you have forgotten to ask anything, so please you can send me an email at any time. So I'm open to any sort of questions, and then I'll give my best to answer.
I'm not sure if you have the ability to maybe post your email in the chat.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Ashton. So if you have questions, you're welcome to follow the email that Ashton posted in the chat and email Kuenzang anything else you wanted to follow up with. But we really appreciate you being here today, and please stick around for the rest of the conference.